A very, very good morning to all of you and wish you all a happy Mother's Day on behalf of the crafters. And what else can we give to all the mothers today except stories? So, Parvati Auntie, what is the story you have for this Mother's Day?
Yes, I have a beautiful story. But before that, let me also wish all the mothers a very happy Mother's Day. And hey, children, what have you done special for your mother on this Mother's Day? Why don't you write it in the on the comment section what all you have done? So we'll all know what you have done. Okay, let me go to that story. This was a fort of Chhatrapati Shivaji in Maharashtra. And here the rule was that nobody could get out of the gate after sunset. That means the gates would get closed. And this fort was on a hill, and there was a village on the down of the hill. And from here, the villagers used to take milk, rice, and all this for the people who lived inside the fort. They had to go in the morning. By evening, they should come back. The gates will close. And Hirakani was a milkmaid, and she had a little baby, and her baby was taken care of by her mother-in-law. She was quite old, so somehow she was managing in the morning, but night the baby always wanted Hirakani with her. And Hirakani also wanted to be with her baby. So morning she would take the milk can and go to the fort and come back before sunset, before the gates closed. But what happened was one such day, the baby was crying, and Hirakani had to console the baby, to play with the baby. She was a bit late, and she ran up the hill to give milk. By the time she finished giving the milk, she came back. It was sunset, and the guard closed the door, big door. Hirakani begged, please allow me, my child is there and he will be waiting for me. Even I want to see my child. The guard said, no, orders are orders, you can't go. Hirakani didn't know what to do. She was just walking around that fort. How could she climb up and go to such a huge fort? And there was a wall around the fort. And then she realized, hey, there is no wall. Maybe I can climb up. And she climbed and she found that it was so steep. It was dark also. But for her, the thought of being with her child was so important. She somehow jumped on with the milk can and fell on a tree, a shrub, and then so much of trouble. And finally, she got out and she ran to a baby. Baby was crying, waiting for Hirakani. Seeing Hirakani, the baby stopped crying, and Mama and the baby were happy, and she had a lot of bruises, but she just washed everything, went to sleep. Next morning, she again came back with her milk can, and the guard saw her and said, how come? You were inside. How are you outside? You have broken the rules. Come to see Chhatrapati Shivaji. He is going to punish you. Hirakani said, I jumped down the wall. Don't tell lies and all those things. And then Chhatrapati Shivaji will, how did you manage? So there was no wall on one side and it was steep. And I just wanted to be with my child. So I just somehow managed. You know what Chhatrapati Shivaji said? He said, wow, you're such a brave woman. And he built another wall around that and named it after her. For a little baby, the mother took all the pains to did such a brave act. Isn't it a fun, nice story, Mirandi?
Yes, absolutely. What an amazing, brave mother. But the story I am going to tell today is not from India. It's actually a very, very well known Greek story, the story from the Greek mythology. Demeter was the goddess of harvest. She was the goddess of the crops that grew. She was the goddess of the spring, everything that grew. And of course, plants have to grow for us to eat, isn't it? So Demeter was definitely a very important goddess. Now, Demeter had a very pretty and very sweet daughter called Persephone, and she doted on her daughter. I mean, she would do anything for her daughter. She loved her daughter so much, and she couldn't stay even one day without her, like most of the mothers here. But then, one day when Persephone had grown up, Demeter had her work to do. She had to step out of the house. She was a working mother, so she went out to do her work. Hades, the god of the underworld, spotted Persephone. He just liked her so much that he decided to kidnap her. He kidnapped her and took her away to the underworld. Demeter came back. Persephone was not to be seen. She didn't know what to do. She searched everywhere. She couldn't find her. And then, as she asked around, she was told that it was Hades who had taken her dear, dear daughter Persephone. She asked everyone for help. They said, we can't fight with Hades. He's too powerful. And so Demeter decided to shut herself completely. She decided she was not going to do anything that the world required of her when her daughter was not there. She was so sad that she couldn't even step out of the house. What do you think happened? All the crops failed. Nothing grew. And of course, everyone was hungry. So Zeus decided to do something about it. So he went to Hades and told him that this is not right. You have to return Persephone because without her dear daughter, Demeter is not going to feed the earth. Well, said Hades, who was a little cunning, she can go if she eats this pomegranate from my land. And Persephone agreed because she really wanted to go back to her mother. And she had 6 pieces of the pomegranate. But it was a magical fruit. Once anyone had eaten that fruit, they could not go away from the underworld. Now what to do? Zeus knew that without Persephone, Demeter would not come and should not give the crops anyway. And so he struck a deal and he told Hades that Persephone would be in the underworld 6 months of the year, and 6 months of the year she would return to her dear mother, Demeter. And so that is what happened. And they say that is why we have 6 months of summer and spring where everything sprouts and everything grows. And Demeter is so happy to be with her dear, dear Persephone. And 6 months of winter and autumn where Demeter cannot stop her sorrow. And so she hides herself and nothing grows. So that is the story of Persephone and Demeter, and that was also the story of Hirapanna. Now, Parvati auntie, there are all kinds of mothers are in there. There are like brave mothers.
Happy mothers.
There are resourceful and clever mothers.
Hardworking mothers.
But then who is the best mother? What do you think?
My own mother is my best mother. Isn't it so?
Of course, of course. So the best mother is none other than your own mother.